it's Miss Fox here. I miss you so much. This is Pearl, my pug. She's super cool and super old, and she's probably going to be walking around the kitchen the whole time I'm reading you this story, so just ignore her, okay? So the story I'm going to read you was written by our very own Lunch Buddies group. We have 6 different authors, and they're all students at Sacagawea. So I'm going to begin. The story is The Pizza Squad. 6 guys from Sacagawea all loved pizza. Pepperoni, sausage, Canadian bacon, extra cheese, you name it, they loved it. They met at Pizza Hut one day and became best friends. People who knew them referred to them as the Pizza Squad, but that wasn't the only thing they loved. They also enjoyed science, and especially the subject of time travel. Together, they devised a time travel machine that ran on AA batteries, which were easy to find at Safeway and lasted for several trips back and forth through time. The Pizza Squad thought it would be fun to travel back to the year 1910, when automobiles were just beginning to be made and sold in America. Before this time, people had to use horses, oxen, or just walk on foot to travel anywhere. The guys had really done their research. They knew that pizza was actually first invented in Gaeta, Italy in 997 AD. The guys also thought it would be fun to see one of the first pizzerias in America. It was called Lombardi's. It was located in New York, and it had opened in 1904. What better trip back in time than to see the first cars and try some delicious historic pizza? One rainy Saturday morning, the guys met at the Sacagawea playground. After making sure the batteries were fully charged, they started up their time travel machine, and soon they were traveling faster than lightning. Suddenly, the side hatch accidentally opened, and several of the boys were sucked out. Andy, Eddie, Leo, and Nate were suddenly blowing through space and time. Quick thinkers, Ethan and Eric ran to close the door before any more disaster could occur. Unfortunately, the space-time continuum had been let in. Nate and Eric continued traveling toward their destination, 1910 New York, while the rest of the group kept hurtling through space and time. And this is how some of the Pizza Squad landed in 1910 New York, while the others landed way back in the age of dinosaurs. Crash! Oof! Thud! The 4 guys crash-landed in the hottest, stickiest jungle they'd ever seen. Humongous trees and plants loomed over them and shadowed out the sunlight. "Where are we?" Alex asked as he pulled a giant leafy sword fern out of his hair. "I have no idea," answered Eddie. Just then, a hungry ankylosaurus came thundering past them, oblivious to the boys. It was obviously focused on eating leaves and trees. Luckily, ankylosaurus are herbivores, so for now, the boys were safe. Once they determined no one was injured, they began searching for their time machine, but it was nowhere to be found. What were they going to do? "We can't stay here forever," cried Leo. "Yeah, and I'm hungry," said Nate. "I'd love a big cheesy slice of pepperoni pineapple pizza right about now," added Andy. Meanwhile, the time machine had successfully entered New York in the year 1910. It slowed down and stopped in the middle of Central Park, on top of a big hill. The squeaky hatch exploded open and out rolled Eric and Ethan. They rolled all the way down the big hill and splashed into a big, cold lake. "Wow, that was some landing," said Eric as he waded back onto the shore. "It sure was. I should have brought my swim shorts," replied Ethan. Both boys made it back onto dry land. Almost instantly, a glow appeared around their wet, soggy clothing. It slowly faded as it transformed their garments into the clothing of the era. They looked down at themselves and started laughing. They were now wearing short pants called knickers and long socks that went all the way up to their knees. Suspenders were holding them up. The gray fabric was some sort of scratchy wool. They were also wearing caps on their heads. Ever the avid researchers, they remembered that zippers hadn't been invented yet, and noticed their clothes were held together with large buttons. "You look pretty funny," said Ethan as he pulled up his sagging suspenders. "Oh yeah? Take a look at yourself," giggled Eric, and the 2 friends laughed so hard they forgot about their missing friends for a few minutes. Back in the jungle, the 4 friends were still searching for their time machine. So far, they hadn't been able to locate it. This could be a problem, especially if some carnivorous dinosaur came along and decided they looked like a tasty meal. Andy picked up a sword fern and started sword fighting with Leo. "On guard! aboard, they shouted as they jumped around the jungle floor and pretended to battle. Guys, let's stay focused, said Nate. Nate knew that if they had any hope of getting back to the group in 1910, they needed to invent a new time machine and quick. None of the guys had batteries with them, so Eddie came up with a brilliant idea of using solar panels to power up their machine and get them out of the dino age. Andy, out of breath from sword fighting with Leo, looked carefully at their swords and said, "What if we created solar panels out of leaves?" The other three friends agreed this could be just what they needed to power up their new time machine and transport them out of the jungle and into 1910. They began collecting leaves and branches to build the time machine. It was almost noon. That meant they only had a few hours of daylight in which to harness the power of the sun. It also meant it was lunchtime, and boy, were they getting hungry. Fast forward in time to 1910. Eric and Ethan hid their time machine behind a huge rock formation inside Central Park and began exploring the city. Way out in the distance, they could see the Statue of Liberty on Ellis Island. Even from far away, the boys could tell it was magnificent. Without warning, Eric's stomach growled louder than a lion's roar. "Oops," he said, embarrassed. "I guess my alarm clock's going off, telling us it's time for lunch." So the two friends began searching for Lombardi's restaurant, where they hoped to get some historic pizza. They asked around, but no one had heard of Lombardi's, and some people made weird faces when they tried to describe pizza to them. "What is this pizza you're talking about?" they asked. Eric and Ethan had to search for a long time before their sense of smell finally brought them to the little Italian restaurant. They ordered one large pizza in every flavor and every topping on the menu. It was everything they had hoped for. The pepperoni smelled spicy and tomatoey, and it tasted like heaven. Back in the jungle, the four boys worked hard to build their new time machine. It was well constructed and had a secure hatch door that wouldn't accidentally blow open. The best part was that the solar panels were charging up quickly. Soon they'd be able to leave the age of dinosaurs and head toward New York City. While they waited for the panels to fully charge, the boys sat on a bluff and watched a huge herd of Apatosaurus grazing down in a field. Pterodactyls flew overhead and made the loudest growling sounds they had ever heard. All of a sudden, a terrifying T-Rex came stomping past them towards the herd. The boys froze so it wouldn't notice them and possibly eat them. Their strategy worked. The T-Rex clomped on by and headed down to harass the poor, unsuspecting Apatosaurus herd. Just then, the solar panels on their new time machine became fully charged, so the boys jumped inside of it and set the controls for 1910 New York City. With a blast, they were soon traveling through time towards their destination. "I can't eat all this pizza," said Eric. "It's a shame to waste it. I wish the other guys were here." "Me too," agreed Ethan. "I wonder where they are, or if they're safe." With a blinding flash and a crack that sounded like firecrackers and thunder, the new time machine burst through the clouds and landed in a parking lot full of cars and delivery trucks near the pizzeria. The shiny new hatch opened smoothly, and the four boys stepped out and yelled, "Here we are!" Eric and Ethan ran over to them and gave each of them their very own large pizza. Everyone enjoyed a feast of authentic pizza. Then they explored all those amazing vehicles until the sun began to set. Eric and Ethan noticed their outfits had begun transforming back to their present-day clothes. Several local children had noticed the new time machine and were climbing on top of it. They thought it was a strange-looking jungle gym. The boys weren't worried about it powering up, though, because the solar panels had burned out on their journey. As the six friends climbed into their time travel machine, they waved goodbye to New York City, the Statue of Liberty, and to the cars of 1910. "Goodbye, pizza!" they all shouted. The end.